So just gonna walk around the website exercise, give you a bit of an idea on it, I think. So you'd remember that very important part of our developing our website is that we create the right folders. Well, when I say the right folders, you don't have to have them the exact same names that I use, but you should have folders for all of these things. One thing that you do have to have the exact name for is the homepage. The homepage has to be index.html. And the reason for that is because your browser will recognize index.html when you point to that folder. So what happens is we take the website like this, which we can create on a standalone machine. This is not on the internet, but the idea of a web page or website is you want to publish it to the internet. So when you publish it, you take the entire file structure with all the files in it. You take that, you compress it into a folder, and then you somehow upload that to a server somewhere, where it's uncompressed. So we have a lot of tools to use to do that. Unfortunately, to do that, you also have to have somebody who's going to host you. You have to find a host. And usually they don't do that for free. There's some that will do it for free, but usually, but once you find a host, you can put all your website up there and work with it. But what will happen is then you'll give the URL, which is the address that people on the internet can use to find your website. And all you do is you point them to the folder on that server where your homepage is. And your homepage would be index.html, and people on the internet will be able to just open it up. They don't ever have to type index or anything like that. They just point to the folder where index is, and the browser will see the index and open it up. Okay, so here's our website, and let's just this is how it now for you. You wouldn't do like my name or anything like that. You'd do other things and some other pictures and stuff like that. Maybe different kind of table a bit. We've got the other things here. Well, maybe we should look at a bit of the code while we're at it, right? So if we looked at the index, open with Visual Studio Code, what was important about that? I don't know, features of that probably should make that a little bit bigger, right? So the important features of that, got this cool thing here, which is the nav. But the nav headers don't really do anything except separate things out so you can see them easily. But the nav, what we've got is a bunch of hyperlinks to the other pages. Now you don't have to put, now these are just the pages in our website. We could put hyperlinks to another website completely. And we did that at the bottom of the document, where we did a hyperlink to Elite Prep Academy. So I mean, you start building, just lots of links can be put into it. Other things that we had here at the very start of the web page, in the home page, before we got into the body. So we have a head. Anything that's in the head is not going to show up on the web page. It'll show up somewhere else, maybe, or maybe not show up at all. So for example, the title, that shows up, but it only shows up here in the taskbar. And so it's on the tab, sorry. But the link, what that does is that can be used to tell the browser where to look to find whatever type of files. In this case, where to find your CSS files for the styling. So that's why we had to say it's a style sheet, and this is where it is. So that's what that's about. Other things that we've got going on here, we've got classes that are declared. I'm not sure how much I talked to you about classes, but a class, what we can do is you can have multiple parts of your document that have the same class, or you can have just one part, which is a class. But using the class, we're able to easily find that part of the code and do things with it, like style it. So what we got here is we're saying, okay, everything in this div tag, so that div tag opens there and it probably closes down here. So everything in there is going to be in this thing called demo wrap. And so we can style demo wrap in a certain way, and all this stuff will be styled that way. We've got another class where we just use, which is only being used for this image. This image has its own class, and so we can style that in a certain way. I think we use this one as the background. So yeah, we had to do some special styling of that. Now, how could check to see what's actually happening there? Is if we go back into our thing, we see that all of the styling in this one, we put all the styling in an external style sheet, which is called My CSS, and it's in the CSS folder. And so that's this one here. If I open it, we're going to see, because I was just talking about what I should do is I should make these so they can sit beside each other, right? Yeah. So over on the left, I've got the web page HTML, and on the right, I've got the CSS code that goes with it. So yeah, what can we see there? So I was just talking about this thing here, the image. So the image is in this thing called dot. It'll be called dot demo BG. Now the dot is how we identify any. The dot is how we identify any class. If we've defined a class in the HTML, we use a dot to find that class. And so that's why we've got this demo BG. Here's a demo BG and all the stuff we use to style it. So for example, we said that it's going to have a very, very small number opacity. That means it's almost see-through. And you can see that on the website itself. Sorry, not that. Pardon me?
Remember that data class means it's previous folder.
The dot means?
No. I remember that the dot means the previous folder.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we use dot dot in our hyperlinks to say, yeah, but a single dot is then the name after it will be the file. We do sometimes use a single dot with a slash in our hyperlinks. That means from this folder. So it's really not necessary. So single dot means this folder, dot dot means the parent folder. Okay. So we have parents and childs. Yeah. So this one, if I went back to the home page, the opacity, the 0.05, that was because the image there was very, very see-through. Its position absolute, it just stays there. We're not having it move around the screen or be anywhere in the screen. We've got a left and right margin on it of 25%. That kind of keeps it in the middle because its width is 50%. And what else? The other stuff there is pretty obvious, I think. And I think we've talked about that before a little bit too. I probably should get on and talk to you a little bit about the JavaScript. Now you've seen this JavaScript where we can get a prompt, and that then we can use whatever data comes to us with that prompt. So we can use it for mathematics, and we can use it for just text. So that code, that would be, if we go back to our thing, that page was the well, it's called JavaScript. So here's where the title shows up. You see there in the tag, that's showing us that that's the JavaScript inputs page. And so if I go and look at the HTML for that, that's why we have this all organized like this. So it's easy for us to update it and do things with it. So that's saying JavaScript inputs. That's this page here. Let's have a look at that. Takes a while to load up into Visual Studio Code. Right. So the JavaScript itself, actually, I took the JavaScript out and I put it into a JavaScript file, but at least it's easy to find. There's your dot dot that you're talking about, right? So this is saying that you will find this code in the go to the parent directory and then go to a JavaScript folder, and then you'll find the code is in the is called this. So if I go to my pages there, and I did go to the so from here, go to the parent directory. This is going to the parent directory, then go to the JavaScript directory, and then what was it called? I think it's this one. And oh well, why can't I just open it? Actually, just double clicking might open it. Come on, open. There we go. Problem is that I using a pad. Okay, so how this one is working is we've got a couple of functions going, right? So here we just declared the functions, and some of the functions actually use other functions, or do they? Yeah, so what's happening? Getting a name. Now we've to make these functions go, we have to point to a particular place in the page to get things, right? So we're saying here in the document, we're going to have an ID, which is called put name. If I went and looked at the document that this is referring to, which is my JavaScript input document, HTML, you would see there's somewhere called put name, I guess. Where I'm going to put it. There it is. So I've given it an idea of put name. I've got another one put math, and I've got one for temp C. So here in the document, we're saying in this place in this place in the document, we're going to run this function or put the results of this function. And so yeah, in a place called put name, we're going to change the HTML. So that's what the thing about inner HTML means. And we're going to say hello and put the person. Now the person is like a variable. We know it's a variable because we use the word let to define that person. And we use the prompt to get the person to get whoever's using the website to type in something. And then that name that is put there is going to come on the screen and say, hi, how are you today? So that's what I've done there. Now the do math one, you'll see that I'm just looking to see. Yeah, I should make this wider so we can see the whole command. All right. Yeah. So all of this is going to happen in a place called put math. And again, if we went back to the HTML, we'd see that we've got a place here called put math where all of this is going to happen. And so what's going to happen there when we do math? We're going to ask them to enter some values, and those values are going to be stored in variables. The variables are going to be changed from to get the values into float values instead of being string values, which they were. And then we're going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 operations, take those numbers, and we're going to put them. So you take those numbers and multiply, add, or divide, or whatever. So that's what's happening there. I think that's kind of enough explaining on that. Let's get to the one that's really interesting, I think now, is the to-do list. So what we got happening here is, so what do we do in the morning? We have our breakfast, and then we're going to brush our teeth, and then we're going to go to school. You get the idea, right? And so what's happening is all of these things are being added to the, can you see them being added to the actual HTML? So that's kind of a little bit of tricky HTML and maybe a little bit of fun. And it's not actually in this JavaScript. We have to go and look at another JavaScript to find that one. And I think it's in this one. Yeah, it might be in this one. Let's have a look. Well, I'll know if how can I know? I can know by looking in the HTML. And so, yeah, let's look in the HTML because I've got two JavaScripts here, which are almost the same name. So I better find out which one I'm using. So how I can find that out is I'm going to look in the HTML. So this is JavaScript. So the HTML is going to be in the pages folder. And this is the to-do list. Oh, that's why I've got two different to-do lists. Oh, well, let's just stick with the to-do list number one. And so I'm sure that that's going to be my JavaScript is going to be my JavaScript number one. Come to think of it, I remember that now, that the second one I was going to add an extra feature of deleting things, but let's not make things too complicated. Let's go to the simple one. It takes a minute to load, a few seconds. So what do we got going here? This is our JavaScript. We've got some constants. Now, we've got task input and task list. This thing here is the task input. This area here is the task list. And we could look at this one would be called to-do list, right? So I need to open that so we can see it. So not just the JavaScript, but also the actual page for the to-do list. Let's open that and look at it. Open with Visual Code Studio Code. So what we've got is we've got a task list here. That's where that's this stuff. Okay, and then we've got an input area, which is task input here. And that's this stuff. Okay. So the task to add is that's the text inside the thing. And yeah, this is our container there. So, and our script, everything that we're doing with this is the to-do.js. So we have a script tag at the bottom of the HTML. We don't put the script tag at the top or in the head, because if we did that, then the browser would try to process the script before loading the page, and that might make the page load slowly. And so that would be bad. So we put it at the end so that the page will load, and then we do our JavaScript. So make it much quicker. So what's going to happen is this page is going to load up, and then the JavaScript will get ready for us to do whatever we're going to do. And here we add our tasks, which when we add our tasks, we see that we get the input. And then when we click on the button, there's a button which is called add task. When we click on that, it goes and runs a function called add task. So now to see what would be happening there is we'd have to go and look and see that function. And so here's our function add task. And what it does is it takes the input and it trims it down, and then it appends it. See, do you remember the li? Li that's a list item, right? And so what it's going to do is it's going to take whatever we've got here and we're going to stick it at the end of that list. Kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool. And yeah. So what did I want you to do? I wanted you to make a website like this. I'm not going to add any more stuff to it. I think it's enough, especially for people who haven't been keeping up. Now, it should be individualized so that I know that it's done by you. But I am giving you all the code that I've used, right? And so you can see all the code that I've used, and you can update it to something that works for you. All right, I think that's enough. Now, how do I turn off this video? Right. Oh, stop sharing and end.